to share with you some interesting chronological notes. Today this is not a Bible study. Episode 4, Joseph and his brothers. A couple of interesting things that come up. The chronology of the last episode and of this episode are some of these things. First of all, Isaac was 40 years old when he had his sons, Jacob and Esau. And he was then 30 years later or so, Isaac is old and his eyes are dim, and Jacob makes his little trick. But Isaac doesn't die for another 50 years after that. And in fact, about 30 years after Jacob returned to his homeland. And then, on top of that, so Joseph was born just before Jacob and the family returned, so that Benjamin was the only one born in Canaan. Now, the events of today's story, Joseph and his brothers, starts when Joseph is 16 years old, and he gets sold into Egypt. And Joseph is in Egypt for 13 years before Pharaoh has his vision, his dream, rather. And it's interesting that, lining up all of the chronologies, that Pharaoh's dream was in the same year that Isaac, Joseph's grandfather, died. So, interesting things to consider there. Let's get into it. Joseph, when he was 16 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, being but a boy. And he was with the sons of Bala and Zelpha, his father's wives, and he accused his brothers to his father of a most wicked crime. Now Israel loved Joseph above all his sons, because he had him in his old age. And he made him a coat of diverse colors. And his brothers, seeing that he was loved by his father more than all his sons, hated him, and could not speak peaceably to him. Now it fell out also that he told his brothers a dream that he had dreamed, which occasioned them to hate him the more. And he said to them, "Hear my dream which I dreamed. I thought we were binding sheaves in the field, and my sheaf arose, as it were, and stood, and your sheaves, standing about, bowed down before my sheaf." His brothers answered, "Shall you be our king, or shall we be subject to your dominion?" Therefore this matter of his dreams and words ministered nourishment to their envy and hatred. He dreamed also another dream, which he told his brothers, saying, "I saw in a dream, as it were, the sun and the moon and 11 stars worshipping me." And when he had told this to his father and brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What does this dream mean that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers worship you upon the earth?" His brothers therefore envied him, but his father considered the thing within himself. And when his brothers abode in Shechem, feeding their father's flocks, Israel said to him, "Your brothers feed the sheep in Shechem. Come, I will send you to them." And when he answered, "I am ready," he said to him, "Go and see if all things be well with your brothers and the cattle, and bring me word again what is doing." So being sent from the valley of Hebron, he came to Shechem. And a man found him there wandering in the field, and asked what he sought. But he answered, I seek my brothers. Tell me where they feed the flocks. And the man said to him, They are departed from this place, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went forward after his brothers, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, before he came near them, they thought to kill him, and said to one another, Behold, the dreamer comes. Come, let us kill him, and cast him into some old pit, and we will say some evil beast has devoured him. And then it shall appear what his dreams avail him. And Reuben, hearing this, endeavored to deliver him out of their hands, and said, Do not take away his life, nor shed his blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and keep your hands harmless. Now he said this, being desirous to deliver him out of their hands, and to restore him to his father. And as soon as he came to his brothers, they forthwith stripped him of his outside coat that was of divers colors, and cast him into an old pit, where there was no water. And sitting down to eat bread, they saw some Ishmaelites on their way, coming from Gilead with their camels, carrying spices and balm and myrrh to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, What will it profit us to kill our brother and conceal his blood? It is better that he be sold to the Ishmaelites, and that our hands not be defiled, for he is our brother and our flesh. His brothers agreed to his words. And when the Midianite merchants passed by, they drew him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they led him into Egypt. And Reuben, returning to the pit, did not find the boy, and rending his garments, he went to his brothers and said, The boy does not appear, and where shall I go? And they took his coat and dipped it in the blood of a kid which they had killed, sending some to carry it to their father and to say, We found this. See whether it be your son's coat or not. And the father, acknowledging it, said, It is my son's coat. An evil wild beast has eaten him. A beast has devoured Joseph. And tearing his garments, he put on sackcloth, mourning for his son a long time. And all his children being gathered together to comfort their father in his sorrow, he would not receive comfort, but said, I will go down to my son into hell, mourning. And Joseph was brought into Egypt. And Potiphar, a eunuch of Pharaoh, chief captain of the army, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites by whom he was brought. And the Lord was with him, and he was a prosperous man in all things, and he dwelt in his master's house, who knew very well that the Lord was with him, and made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found favor in the sight of his master, and ministered to him, and being set over all by him, he governed the house committed to him, and all things that were delivered to him. And the Lord blessed the house of the Egyptian for Joseph's sake, and multiplied all his substance, both at home and in the fields. And after many days, his mistress cast her eyes on Joseph and said, Lie with me. But he, in no wise consenting to that wicked act, said to her, How then can I do this wicked thing and sin against my God? With such words as these, day by day, both the woman was importunate with the young man, and he refused the adultery. Now it happened on a certain day that Joseph went into the house and was doing some business without any man with him. And she, catching the skirt of his garment, said, Lie with me. But he, leaving the garment in her hand, fled and went out. She called to her the men of her house and said to them, See, he has brought in a Hebrew to abuse us. He came in to me to lie with me, and when I cried out, His master, hearing these things, and giving too much credit to his wife's words, was very angry, and cast Joseph into the prison where the king's prisoners were kept, and he was shut up there. After this it came to pass that 2 eunuchs, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, offended their lord. And Pharaoh, being angry with them, now the one was chief butler, the other the chief baker, he sent them to prison of the commander of the soldiers, in which Joseph was also a prisoner. And when Joseph was come in to them in the morning, and saw them sad, he asked them, saying, Why is your countenance sadder today than usual? They answered, We have dreamed a dream, and there's nobody to interpret it to us. And Joseph said to them, Does not interpretation belong to God? Tell me what you have dreamed. The chief butler first told his dream. I saw before me a vine, on which were 3 branches, which by little and little sent out buds, and after the blossoms brought forth ripe grapes. And the cup of Pharaoh was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into the cup which I held, and I gave the cup to Pharaoh. Joseph answered, This is the interpretation of the dream. The 3 branches are yet 3 days, after which Pharaoh will remember your service, and will restore you to your former place, and you shall present him the cup according to your office, as before you were wont to do. Only remember me when it shall be well with you, and do me this kindness, to put Pharaoh in mind to take me out of this prison. For I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here, without any fault, was cast into the dungeon. The chief baker, seeing that he had wisely interpreted the dream, said, I also dreamed a dream, that I had 3 baskets of meal upon my head, and that in one basket, which was uppermost, I carried all meats that are made by the art of baking, and that the birds ate out of it. Joseph answered, This is the interpretation of the dream. The 3 baskets are yet 3 days, after which Pharaoh will take your head from you and hang you on a cross, and the birds shall tear your flesh. The 3rd day after this was the birthday of Pharaoh, and he made a great feast for his servants, and he restored the one to his place to present him the cup. The other he hanged on a gibbet. But the chief butler, when things prospered with him, forgot his interpreter. After 2 years, Pharaoh had a dream. He thought he stood by the river, out of which came up 7 kine, very beautiful and fat, and they fed in marshy places. 7 others also came up out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and they fed on the very bank of the river in green places. And they devoured them, whose bodies were very beautiful and well-conditioned. So Pharaoh awoke. He slept again and dreamed another dream. 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, full and fair. Then 7 other ears sprung up, thin and blasted, and devoured all the beauty of the former. Pharaoh awaked after his rest, and when morning was come, being struck with fear, he sent to all the interpreters of Egypt and to all the wise men. And they being called for, he told them his dream, and there was not any one of them that could interpret it. Then at length the chief butler, remembering, said, I confess my sin. The king, being angry with his servants, commanded me and the chief baker to be cast into the prison of the captain of the soldiers, where in one night both of us dreamed a dream. There was a young man, a Hebrew, to whom we told our dreams, and we heard what afterwards the event of the thing proved to be so. Forthwith, at the king's command, Joseph was brought out of the prison, and they shaved him, and changed his apparel, and brought him in to him. And he said to him, I've dreamed dreams, and there is no one that can expound them. Now I've heard that you are very wise at interpreting them." Joseph answered, "Without me, God shall give Pharaoh a prosperous answer." So Pharaoh told what he had dreamed. Joseph answered, "The king's dream is one. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 beautiful kine and the 7 full ears are 7 years of plenty. And the 7 lean and thin kine that came up after them, and the 7 thin ears that were blasted with a burning wind, are 7 years of famine to come. Behold, there shall come 7 years of great plenty in the whole land of Egypt, after which shall follow 7 other years of so great scarcity that all the abundance before shall be forgotten, for the famine shall consume all the land. Now therefore let the king provide a wise and industrious man, and make him ruler over the land of Egypt, and let all the corn be laid up under Pharaoh's hands." The counsel pleased Pharaoh and all his servants, and he said to them, "Can we find such another man that is full of the Spirit of God?" He said therefore to Joseph, "Seeing God has shown you all that you have said, can I find one wiser and one like to you? You shall be over my house, and at the commandment of your mouth all the people shall obey. Only in the kingly throne will I be above you." And again Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Behold, I have appointed you over the whole land of Egypt." And he took his ring from his own hand, and gave it into his hand. And he put upon him a robe of silk, and put a chain of gold about his neck. And he made him go up into his 2nd chariot, the cry proclaiming that all should bow their knee before him, and that they should know he was made governor over the whole land of Egypt. And the king said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh. Without your commandment, no man shall move hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." Now he was 30 years old when he stood before King Pharaoh. And the fruitfulness of the 7 years came, and the corn, being bound up into sheaves, was gathered together into the barns of Egypt. And there was so great abundance of wheat that it was equal to the sand of the sea, and the plenty exceeded measure. And before the famine came, Joseph had 2 sons born, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of Heliopolis, bore to him. And he called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, saying, "God has made me to forget all my labors and my father's house." And he named the second Ephraim, saying, "God has made me to grow in the land of my poverty." Now when the 7 years of plenty that had been in Egypt were past, the 7 years of scarcity began to come. And when there also they began to be famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. And he said to them, "Go to Joseph, and do all that he shall say to you." And all provinces came into Egypt to buy food and to seek some relief of their want. And Jacob, hearing that food was sold in Egypt, said to his sons, "Why are you careless? I have heard that wheat is sold in Egypt. Go down and buy us necessaries, that we may live and not be consumed with want." So the 10 brothers of Joseph went down to buy corn in Egypt, while Benjamin was kept at home by Jacob, who said to his brothers, "Lest perhaps he take any harm in the journey." And Joseph was governor in the land of Egypt, and corn was sold by his direction to the people. And when his brothers had bowed down to him, though he knew his brothers, he was not known by them. And remembering the dreams which formerly he had dreamed, he said to them, "You are spies. You are come to view the weaker parts of the land." But they said, It is not so, my lord, but your servants are come to buy food. We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is with our father, the other is not living. He says, This is it that I said you are spies. If you be peaceable men, let one of your brothers be bound in prison, and go your way and carry the corn that you have bought to your houses. And bring your youngest brother to me, that I may find your words to be true, and you may not die. And they talked one to another. We deserve to suffer these things, because we have sinned against our brother, seeing the anguish of his soul, when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this affliction come upon us. And Reuben, one of them, said, Did I not say to you, do not sin against the boy? And you would not hear me? Behold, his blood is required. And they did not know that Joseph understood, because he spoke to them by an interpreter. And he turned himself away a little while and wept. And returning, he spoke to them. And taking Simeon and binding him in their presence, he commanded his servants to fill their sacks with wheat, and to give them besides provisions for the way. And they did so. But they, having loaded their asses with the corn, went their way. And they came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, and they told him all things that had befallen them, saying, The Lord of the land spoke roughly to us, and took us to be spies of the country. And he said to us, Hereby shall I know that you are peaceable men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take necessary provision for your houses, and go your ways. And bring your youngest brother to me, that I may know that you are not spies. Their father Jacob said, You have made me to be without children. Joseph is not living. Simeon is kept in bonds, and Benjamin you will take away. All these evils are fallen upon me. And Reuben answered him, Kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him again to you. But he said, My son shall not go down with you. His brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any mischief befall him in the land to which you go, you will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to hell. In the meantime, the famine was heavy upon all the land. And when they had eaten up all the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, Go again and buy us a little food. Judah answered, If therefore you will send him with us, we will set out together and will buy necessaries for you. But if you will not, we will not go. For the man, as we have often said, declared to us, saying, You shall not see my face without your youngest brother. Israel said to them, You have done this for my misery, and that you told him you had another brother. And Judah said to his father, Send the boy with me, that we may set forward and may live, lest both we and our children perish. If delay had not been made, we had been here again the second time. Then Israel said to them, If it must needs be so, do what you will. Take of the best fruits of the land in your vessels, and carry down presents to the man, a little balm and honey and storax, myrrh, turpentine and almonds. And also take your brother and go to the man. And may my Almighty God make him favorable to you, and send back with you your brother whom he keeps, and this Benjamin. And as for me, I shall be desolate without children. So the men took the presents and Benjamin, and went down into Egypt, and stood before Joseph. Then Joseph came into his house, and they offered him the presents, holding them in their hands. And they bowed down with their face to the ground. But he, courteously saluting them again, asked them, saying, Is the old man your father in health, of whom you told me? Is he yet living? And they answered, Your servant, our father, is in health. He is yet living. And bowing themselves, they made obeisance to him. And Joseph, lifting up his eyes, saw Benjamin his brother by the same mother, and said, Is this your young brother of whom you told me? And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. And he made haste because his heart was moved upon his brother, and tears gushed out. And going into his chamber, he wept. And when he had washed his face, coming out again, he refrained himself and said, Set bread on the table. And Joseph commanded the steward of his house, saying, Fill their sacks with corn, as much as they can hold, and put the money of every one in the top of his sack. And in the mouth of the younger's sack put my silver cup, and the price which he gave for the wheat. And when the morning arose, they were sent away with their asses. And when they were now departed out of the city, and had gone forward a little way, Joseph, sending for the steward of his house, said, Arise and pursue after the men, and when you have overtaken them, say to them, Why have you returned evil for good? And having overtaken them, he spoke to them the same words. And they answered, Why does our Lord speak so, as though your servants had committed so heinous a fact? How then should it be that we should steal out of your Lord's house gold or silver? With whomsoever of your servants shall be found that which you seek, let him die, and we will be the bondmen of my Lord. Then they speedily took down their sacks to the ground, and every man opened his sack, which, when he had searched, beginning at the eldest and ending at the youngest, he found the cup in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their garments. And Judah, at the head of his brothers, went in to Joseph, for he was not yet gone out of the place. And they all together fell down before him on the ground. And he said to them, Why would you do so? Do you not know that there is no one like me in the science of divining? And Judah said to him, What shall we answer, my lord, or what shall we say, or be able justly to allege? God has found out the iniquity of your servants. Behold, we are all bondmen to my lord, both we and he with whom the cup was found. Joseph answered, God forbid that I should do so. He that stole the cup, he shall be my bondman. And go you away free to your father. Then Judah, coming nearer, said boldly, I beseech you, my lord, let your servant speak a word in your ears, and do not be angry with your servant. For after Pharaoh you are my lord. You asked your servants the first time, Do you have a father or a brother? And we answered you, my lord, We have a father, an old man, and a young boy that was born in his old age, whose brother by the mother is dead. And he alone is left of his mother, and his father loves him tenderly. And you said to your servants, Bring him here to me. Whereto he answered, You know that my wife bore me two. One went out, and you said, A beast devoured him. Therefore, if I shall go to your servant our father, and the boy be wanting, whereas his life depends upon the life of him, and he shall see that he is not with us, he will die. And your servant shall bring down his gray hairs with sorrow unto hell. Therefore I, your servant, will stay instead of the boy in the service of my Lord, and let the boy go up with his brothers. Joseph could no longer refrain himself before many that stood by, whereupon he commanded that all should go out, and no stranger be present at their knowing one another. And he lifted up his voice with weeping, which The Egyptians and all the house of Pharaoh heard, and he said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father yet living? His brothers could not answer him, being struck with exceeding great fear. And he said mildly to them, Come nearer to me. And when they were come near him, he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Do not be afraid, and let it not seem to you a hard case that you sold me into these countries. For God sent me before you into Egypt for your preservation. For it is 2 years since the famine began to be upon the land, and 5 years more remain, wherein there can be neither plowing nor reaping. And God sent me before, that you may be preserved upon the earth, and may have food to live. Not by your counsel was I sent here, but by the will of God, who has made me, as it were, a father to Pharaoh, and lord of his whole house, and governor in all the land of Egypt. Make haste, and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of the whole land of Egypt. Come down to me, do not linger, and you shall dwell in the land of Goshen. And you shall be near me, you and your sons sons, your sheep and your herds and all things that you have. And there I will feed you, for there are still 5 years of famine remaining, lest both you perish and your house and all things that you have. Behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You shall tell my father of all my glory and all things that you have seen in Egypt. Make haste and bring him to me. And falling upon the neck of his brother Benjamin, he embraced him and wept. And Benjamin in like manner wept also on his neck. And Joseph kissed all his brothers, and wept upon every one of them, after which they were emboldened to speak to him. And it was heard, and the fame was abroad in the king's court, the brothers of Joseph are come. And Pharaoh with all his family was glad. And they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. And they told him, saying, Joseph your son is living, and he is ruler in all the land of Egypt. Which, when Jacob heard, he awaked, as it were out of a deep sleep, yet did not believe them. They, on the other side, told the whole order of the thing. And when he saw the wagons and all that he had sent, his spirit revived, and he said, It is enough for me, if Joseph my son is yet living. I will go and see him before I die. And Israel, taking his journey with all that he had, came to the well of the oath, and killing victims there to the God of his father Isaac, he heard him by a vision in the night calling him, and saying to him, Jacob, Jacob. And he answered him, Look, here I am. God said to him, I am the most mighty God of your father. Do not fear. Go down into Egypt, for I will make a great nation of you there. I will go down with you there, and will bring you back again from there. Joseph also shall put his hands upon your eyes. And Jacob rose up from the well of the oath, and his sons took him up, with their children and wives in the wagons, which Pharaoh had sent to carry the old man and all that he had in the land of Canaan. And he came into Egypt with all his seed, his sons and grandsons, daughters, and all his offspring together. Jacob called his sons and said to them, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you the things that shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together And hear, O you sons of Jacob, hearken to Israel your father. Reuben, my firstborn, you are my strength and the beginning of my sorrow, excelling in gifts, greater in command. You are poured out as water. Do not grow, because you went up to your father's bed and defiled his couch. Simeon and Levi, brothers, vessels of iniquity waging war. Do not let my soul go into their council, nor my glory be in their assembly, because in their fury they slew a man, and in their self-will they undermined a wall. Cursed be their fury, because it was stubborn, and their wrath, because it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and will scatter them in Israel. Judah, you shall your brothers praise. Your hand shall be on the necks of your enemies. The sons of your father shall bow down to you. Judah is a lion's whelp. To the prey, my son, you are gone up. Resting, you have couched as a lion, and as a lioness. Who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not be taken away from Judah, nor a ruler from his thigh, till he come that is to be sent, and he shall be the expectation of nations. Tying his foal to the vineyard, and his ass, O my son, to the vine. He shall wash his robe in wine, and his garment in the blood of the grape. His eyes are more beautiful than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun shall dwell on the seashore, and in the road of ships, reaching as far as Sidon. Issachar shall be a strong ass lying down between the borders. He saw rest, that it was good, and the land, that it was excellent, and he bowed his shoulder to carry, and became a servant under tribute. Dan shall judge his people like another tribe in Israel. Let Dan be a snake in the way, a serpent in the path that bites the horse's heels, that his rider may fall backward. I will look for your salvation, Lord. Gad, being girded, shall fight before him, and he himself shall be girded backward. Asher, his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield dainties to kings. Naphtali, a heart let loose in giving words of beauty. Joseph is a growing son and comely to behold. The daughters run to and fro upon the wall, but they that held darts provoked him and quarrelled with him and envied him. His bow rested upon the strong, and the bands of his arm and his hands were loosed by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. Thence he came forth a shepherd, the stone of Israel. The God of your father shall be your helper, and the Almighty shall bless you with the blessings of heaven above, with the blessings of the deep that lies beneath, with the blessings of the breasts and of the womb. The blessings of your father are strengthened with the blessings of his fathers, until the desire of the everlasting hills should come. May they be upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the Nazarite among his brethren. Benjamin, a ravenous wolf, in the morning shall he eat prey, and in the evening shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. These things their father spoke to them, and he blessed every one with their proper blessings. And he charged them, saying, I am now going to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the double cave which is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, over against Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought together with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession to bury in. There they buried him, and Sarah his wife. There was Isaac buried with Rebekah his wife. There also Leah lies buried. And when he had ended the commandments wherewith he instructed his sons, he drew up his feet upon the bed and died, and he was gathered to his people. And when Joseph saw this, he fell upon his father's face, weeping and kissing him. And he commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And while they were fulfilling his commands, there passed 40 days, for this was the manner with bodies that were embalmed. And Egypt mourned for him 70 days. And the time of the mourning being expired, Joseph spoke to the family of Pharaoh. If I have found favor in your sight, speak in the ears of Pharaoh. For my father made me swear to him, saying, Behold, I die, you shall bury me in my sepulchre which I have digged for myself in the land of Canaan. So I will go up and bury my father in return. And Pharaoh said to him, Go up and bury your father, according as he has made you swear. So he went up, and there went with him all the ancients of Pharaoh's house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and the house of Joseph with his brothers, except their children, and their flocks and herds which they left in the land of Goshen. He also had in his train chariots and horsemen, and it was a great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is situated beyond the Jordan, where, celebrating the exequies with a great and vehement lamentation, they spent full 7 days. And when the inhabitants of Canaan saw this, they said, This is a great mourning to the Egyptians. And therefore the name of that place was called the Mourning of Egypt. So the sons of Jacob did as he had commanded them, and carrying him into the land of Canaan, they buried him in the double cave which Abraham had bought, together with the field, for possession of a burying place, of Ephron the Hittite, over against Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt with his brothers, and all that were in his company, after he had buried his father. Now he being dead, his brothers were afraid, and talked with one another, lest perhaps he should remember the wrong he suffered, and requite us all the evil that we did to him. And they sent a message to him, saying, Your father commanded us before he died that we should say thus much to you from him. I beseech you to forget the wickedness of your brothers, and the sin and malice they practiced against you. We also pray you to forgive the servants of the God of your father this wickedness. And when Joseph heard this, he wept. And his brothers came to him, and worshipping prostrate on the ground, they said, We are your servants. And he answered them, Fear not. Can we resist the will of God? You thought evil against me, but God turned it into good, that he might exalt me, as at present you see, and might save many people. Fear not, I will feed you and your children. And he comforted them, and spoke gently and mildly. And he dwelt in Egypt with all his father's house, and lived 110 years. And he saw the children of Ephraim to the 3rd generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Maases, were born on Joseph's knees. After which he told his brothers, God will visit you after my death, and will make you go up out of this land, to the land which he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he made them swear to him, saying, God will visit you. Carry my bones with you out of this place. And he died, being 110 years old. And being embalmed, he was laid in a coffin in Egypt. Another interesting thing to note. So, Joseph was 30 when Pharaoh had his dream, and so he would have been 37 when his brothers and his father came down to Egypt. And it was 15 years later that Jacob died. So Joseph would have been 52 at that point, which meant he had yet another 68 years to live. So lots of stuff happened in all those years, and thus now Israel is in Egypt. So next we are going to hear about the Exodus. God bless you.